Hello, my friends. Hello, my neighbors. Welcome back. I'm going to be hanging out with you, answering questions about health, medicine, nutrition. Hopefully, you've got some questions for me because I've got some answers for you. We got somebody watching in Poland, somebody in Romania. Nice. Also, Texas, New York. Excellent. Where are you watching from right now? What city, what state, what country? Tell me in the comments so I can say hi to you. I'm guessing that Kaya is from Hawaii. There's Mitzi Champion, one of our PhD coaches. Hey, Mitzi, hope you're doing well. Somebody from DC, Utah. Excellent. Kentucky, my northern neighbors. Where'd that question go? I saw one. Well, I lost it. If you have a question, put the letter Q in front of it or the word question or 3 question marks, however you want to do it. And that way you guys can chat in the comments and I can be looking for questions. How about that? All right. So for those of you who are new, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Ken Berry. I'm a family physician. I've been practicing family medicine for over 22 years now. I used to be severely obese and pre-diabetic, had a whole host of medical problems that I suffered from as a doctor. And medicine would treat it temporarily, treat the symptoms, but it never reversed the conditions. Only when I discovered a proper human diet was I able to reverse severe obesity, back to obesity, back to being overweight, and now I'm just, according to the charts, slightly overweight, but I'm happy right where I'm at right now. My prediabetes went completely away. I've got a beautiful A1C now. My heartburn went completely away. My dandruff got 99% better. My toenail fungus went away. All kinds of other stuff you don't want to hear about got better and went away. So that's why I eat a proper human diet every day. Julie says I was adding rice, mushroom coffee to my coffee, and it seemed to make my diarrhea worse. I have been on carnivore for 5 days. So some people, if they start a carnivore diet abruptly, they can have diarrhea for a few days. This goes away within a week or two for 99% of people. The rice, mushroom, coffee, there's no proven benefit to grinding up and drying and processing mushrooms and drinking them that I'm aware of. If anybody knows of research validating that, proving it's beneficial, I'd love to read it. I used to be a big fan of lion's mane mushroom. I used to put that in my coffee and several other mushrooms. But when I looked into the research, it's like, wow, you would think the companies, if they're trying to make money off this, they would at least prove that it does something. Gunbot EMLR. Hey, I just bought some vitamin C supplement that you put in water. It has more protein than fat. Is that healthy? Thanks in advance. I mean, it depends on what kind of protein and what kind of fat. Where did the fat come from? Is it a vegetable oil fat? In which case, I wouldn't put it in my body or the body of anyone I love. Why exactly are you taking a vitamin C supplement? A lot of people think you need a vitamin C supplement on the carnivore diet. But I know many, many carnivores who have been doing carnivore for over 10 years and never supplement with vitamin C and still have normal vitamin C levels. It's almost like there's vitamin C in meat, especially organ meat. Diverticulosis comes from years and years, Tammy, of eating a high fiber diet and having bowel movements that you have to strain at really hard. If it flares up, then it becomes diverticulitis. And I actually have a YouTube video on this on my YouTube channel about diverticulosis and diverticulitis and what increases your risk of getting it, and then also what increases your risk of it flaring up. All right. Bunny for president. Hey, you might as well throw your hat in, Bunny. So many other people are. Now, we're not going to talk about politics. Hello, what's the general consensus on ApoB? Mine's 194, though my LDL is 334, confirmed pattern A. Triglycerides are 53, which is great. HDL 89, which is great. So you've got beautiful triglycerides and HDL. And I'm guessing that your A1C and your fasting insulin are also great, and your inflammatory markers are also great. If so, I could care less what your ApoB is. Some doctors and physiologists think that the ApoB is a big deal, that's going to change the world of medicine. Others, like me, think it is a very popular but unproven possible proxy marker for something. I don't care much about ApoB or LP little a. I don't care much about particle size and particle number if your triglycerides, HDL, A1C, and fasting insulin and inflammatory markers are all normal. I don't think they give us any meaningful additional information. Chow View, fish oil, yay or nay? Fish oil, if you're eating fish and therefore ingesting the oil in the fish, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of sardines and cod liver and mackerel and herring, small water fish that eat predominantly algae and plankton. I'm a big fan of that kind of fish. I'm not a fan of fish oil supplements at all. I think they're a complete waste of money. Multiple companies have done research studies on their fish oil product to try to prove that it had some beneficial effect. And to my knowledge, they've all struck out so far. Dennis, my pharmacist, said that when we become insulin resistant without carbohydrates, that we can become insulin resistant without carbohydrates. Is that true? Well, first of all, as my friend Bart Kay says, insulin resistance is a construct. It is a paradigm. It's a way of thinking about a problem. There's not an actual thing called insulin resistance. That's not a real thing. That's a way of thinking about metabolic disease. There is such a thing as hyperinsulinemia. And the only way you can develop hyperinsulinemia without eating too many carbohydrates for your personal biochemistry is to have an insulinoma. So what your pharmacist said is, I know what your pharmacist meant, and your pharmacist is incorrect. Mav, your thoughts on cold showers and plunges. I think that both cold temperature exposure and hot temperature exposure do have a beneficial hormetic effect on the human body and human physiology. The way I get cold exposure and hot exposure is in the summer, I go outside and work with my chainsaw in the 95-degree weather in the sun. And in the winter, I go out in a tank top and shorts and shoes and run around in the cold until I'm really shivering. I think though that hot exposure and cold exposure exactly mimic what our ancestors were exposed to. Now, there are people out there who want to sell you $1,000 sauna or $1,000 cold plunge. And so they're going to talk about how beneficial it is. But when you ask for research confirming that their product is going to give additional benefits. I have a black Dodge pickup truck. In the summer, I can sit in there. It's 170 degrees. In the winter, I can go sit in the same truck, and it's going to be 5 degrees. I think that's pretty good temperature exposure. But I'm not going to pay for either one of those things. Thank you very much, Josie. Thank you, Altoona Gaming. Jose, would carnivore or keto help with Bell's palsy? If you were eating keto or carnivore before, then you would probably have a lower risk of developing Bell's because it's somewhat inflammatory in nature. But if you've already got Bell's palsy, then converting to keto or carnivore is probably not going to help it resolve quicker. It might, but I doubt it would be much of a difference. Virtually everyone who develops Bell's palsy, it goes away with enough time. Some very, very few cases are permanent, but that's very rare. I don't know if Granny Berry's watching this one. I didn't give her notification, so she may not know this one's going on. Gunbolt, yeah, I already got Gunbolt. Wake up with headaches. What's wrong with me? So, Gene, if you're waking up with headaches, this is a kind of a well-known sign among doctors that your headaches need to be evaluated. If you develop a headache towards the afternoon, evening, then that you probably need to see the optometrist. If you have a headache when you bend over, you might want to have your sinuses checked. But if you're waking up with headaches, then you need to go see your primary doctor and tell them about that and see if they want to get a CAT scan or an MRI just to see what else is going on. Conster, I had a gastric bypass 17 years ago, advised for being successful as a carnivore with limited stomach capacity. So with a gastric bypass, I'm assuming you had the Roux-en-Y. You're going to have a very tiny stomach pouch, so you're not going to be ever to be able to eat one meal a day, most likely, maybe even not able to eat 2 meals a day. And so you can absolutely eat a carnivore diet with three meals a day, 4 meals a day, even 5 small meals a day. Just make sure your meals contain only meat and eggs, and you will derive hundreds of benefits from eating that way, Conster. And so there's really no other drawback other than you can't eat 1 or 2 meals a day, more than likely. Amjad, can carnivore diet fix depersonalization, derealization disorder, or a sort of brain fog, which has been going on for a very long time? These types of mental issues are things that we get feedback from people who have adopted a carnivore diet. We get feedback from those people constantly that they're definitely brain fog is gone in just a few days. This also happens with a meat-heavy keto or ketovore diet. The depersonalization, derealization, I think that what you're going to notice is a slow but sure decrease in the symptoms over the next few months as you continue to strictly eat a carnivore diet. I think you're going to be very happy with the results. UK Carnivore Guy. I'm trying to build the UK Carnivore community here in the UK via my YouTube channel. Thanks for doing what you should do. Yeah, this is what I should do as a doctor, is be teaching people how to get healthy. You're exactly right. So if any of you guys are in the UK, EU, or the United States, follow UK Carnivore Guy. He's trying to grow his channel and help people. Real talk with Rebecca. 13 weeks pregnant, still having serious meat aversions, but I am taking organic grass-fed beef organ supplements daily. What else can I do to get back to a more carnivore diet, less carbs and crap? Also, my blood work came back. Thyroid's a little high, and that may, your thyroid numbers can change during pregnancy. That may or may not be a problem. So talk to your doctor about the thyroid. You can remember, anything that moves about on the earth is fair game on a carnivore diet. So you may have to stick with fish, eggs. You may have to stick with poultry, like chicken, turkey, duck. You may have to live on pork for a week or two, whichever meats that you can tolerate right now. That's the meat and eggs you need to eat. Okay. Pickled quail eggs, for a lot of people who are just averse to eggs right now, they can eat the pickled quail eggs just fine. And ounce for ounce, quail eggs typically have more nutrition in them than a chicken egg, especially if the chicken came from a factory farming operation. So whatever you have to do. Also keep in mind, Rebecca, for many women with food aversions during pregnancy, it's the smelling of the cooking of the food. And so have your hubby, I see a hubby in that picture, I guess that's your hubby, have him grill you something outside so you don't have to see the raw meat and smell the cooking process. Neisha had meat aversions with both Beckett and Bonnie, and that helped a lot if I cooked the meat outside, or if I just brought the meat in the house already cooked. She was able to tolerate it much better then. Thank you, Blissful Luxury Life. Not that Jana. No, I mean, not that Anna. this is another animal, not that animal. I'm donating plasma. My hematocrit has been 38 today. It was 36. Can it go down from one night of bad sleep? Can it be back up by Friday? Yes and yes. Carnivore 4 months now, can't seem to raise my iron levels. And so there are many other things that some women, Anna, are super depleted in iron from years and years of eating an iron poor diet. And it can take quite a while. Now, I need you to keep researching what can cause iron deficiency anemia. And I want you to keep working with your doctor to rule out all those causes. There can be bone marrow causes. There can be splenic problems. There can be liver problems. There can be absorption problems, all kinds of problems that can lead to this. And so, but most women in your shoes, Anna, after a few months of the carnivore diet, their iron levels and their hematocrit are beautiful. But yeah, but just depending on how much water you drink, multiple things can affect your hematocrit by 2 to 5 points. So it could very well be back up by Friday. Carnivore homemaking. My friend has an iatrogenic injury. She also has many unexplained injuries and pain in her whole body. She's on a low glutamate diet and says carnivore is not for her because of glutamates. Is this true? So your friend is a human being, I'm guessing. And she absolutely will benefit from the nutrition in meat, the uninflammatory nutrition in meat. She's going to benefit from that. But if she currently believes that she can't eat meat, it's not something to fight about. Just let her do what she's doing. And then maybe at some future point, she'll be open and ready to discuss this. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Shroomski. Sama. Female, 40s, lean, HDL 57, trig 66, LDL 235, then all your particle numbers, ApoB 153, LP little a 68, HSS CRP less than 0.3, CAC score 59. You said you're 40, so that's a little high for a 40. You're in your 40s. So if you're 49, then 59 that's still not great, but that's not terrible. A1C 5.2, insulin 5.4. Her low-carb doctor wants her to take Lipitor and aspirin. Why? Yeah, great question. Unless she's had a heart attack or a coronary artery bypass or more than one stent placed, she definitely doesn't need the aspirin at all. The Lipitor, I mean, she's as metabolically healthy as a person can be. Look at her A1C and her fasting insulin. Look at her triglycerides and HDL. Look at her CRP. She is as healthy as a human can be. I don't think she's going to benefit from a statin at all, but that's a decision she'll ultimately have to make. Tony, how can one become one of your coaches? So you join our private community, number one, and there's a link down in the show notes. And then you become and remain very active in that community for some unspecified length of time. Basically until all the other coaches are satisfied that you are true blue, that you are the real deal, that this is your calling in life. And then you go through the Primal Health coaching program. Neisha and I looked at all the coaching programs, and that's the one that we consider to be the very best. And all of our coaches have been through the Primal Health coaching program. And then you will be considered as to be one of our coaches. Tux, can my mother do the carnivore diet with no thyroid as it was removed? And what should we keep an eye on? So absolutely, your mother's going to benefit greatly. Even without a thyroid, she's still a human being. She's going to benefit from the uninflammatory, nutrient-dense ancestral food. That's meat. So yes, absolutely. Now, without a thyroid, she's going to have to take thyroid replacement hormone for the rest of her life. I would try my best to get her on a desiccated thyroid product, not fake T4 like levothyroxine or Synthroid. Synthroid is synthetic. I want you to be on real hormone replacement. Make sure she's getting plenty of iodine in her diets or as a supplement. Every human on the planet needs iodine for every cell in their body to function properly. The iodine is not just about the thyroid. Patty, Carnivore for 6 months, very strict carnivore for a month. Blood work, A1C 5.2, HDL 60, triglycerides 121. Insulin 3.8, LDL 350 plus. Trigs are up a little from last report. Any concern on LDL? It's apparently off the charts. Just as with our previous person, you're metabolically very healthy. Did you get a CRP check to make sure there's no signs of chronic inflammation? If so, and it was normal, then you're metabolically healthy. I could care less what your LDL cholesterol or your total cholesterol is. Blissful luxury life. Hello from Connecticut. My husband and I are 30 days carnivore as of today. He's doing it to cure gout, and I'm doing it to help with joint pain. We appreciate you very much. Any tips? Well, the number one tip is to do it with a buddy. You're already doing that. So that makes it so much easier to stick to it. When somebody gives you negative feedback, you've got a partner right there by your side who's doing it with you. And you guys can both comment on the benefits you're getting as you go along. That helps greatly. Just keep learning, keep reading, keep watching, keep eating fatty red meat. And I think you're going to be very happy with the results. Emmy Lou, can keto or carnivore help CKD stage 4? Any protein restrictions that you would advise? So I've talked to Dr. Jason Fung about this multiple times. He's a board certified kidney specialist, a nephrologist. And he said that there's no danger whatsoever from eating either a ketovore, or carnivore diet in chronic kidney disease stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, or stage 5. That you still need all the nutrition in that food. Your body needs the protein. Now, spilling protein into the urine is a sign of kidney disease, but that doesn't mean that the protein is the culprit. The protein's not the villain. The protein is just getting spilled because of the damage done to the kidneys by, most commonly, too many carbohydrates, too many sugars for too many years. But it could also be a genetic issue, and it can be other issues as well, inflammatory autoimmune issues. But the most common cause of kidney disease is eating too many sugars for too many years. Thank you, Michelle. Thoughts on mushrooms qualifying for the carnivore diet? I love mushrooms, just full disclosure. Mushrooms are definitely not carnivore, right? But I think that they do have some nutrition in them. Now, obviously, there are many poisonous mushrooms. And the edible mushrooms, what that word means, edible, is not that they are completely innocuous and benign. It just means that you can eat them and not suffer too much in the way of effects or side effects. So I think probably the fungus doesn't mind if you eat the fruiting body after it has dropped its spores, because it's basically just going to rot anyway. But it's not carnivore. But every now and then I'll put some mushrooms on my whatever. I'll have a few mushrooms. And that day I'm ketovore. But mushrooms, I think, are fine to eat. I don't think there's any danger as long as you know which to eat and which to avoid. Otherwise, mushrooms can kill you. Matless, what's the difference between beef liver versus chicken liver? Is one more nutrient dense than the other? Overall, beef liver is a little bit more nutrient dense than chicken liver. Now, with that being said, if you had a beef liver that was from a cow that was raised in a feedlot, just fed junk, and the liver from a chicken who was allowed to pasture out the way chickens are supposed to and eat bugs and worms and grass and stuff like that, I don't think we know the answer to that. I would guess that the chicken liver would be more nutrient dense in that case. But if you look it up on the USDA Food Data Central website, beef liver does, on average, has more vitamins and minerals in higher concentrations. But I don't think it's a big enough deal. I don't think there's a big enough difference for anybody to be saying, well, you're stupid if you eat chicken liver. You should be eating beef liver. Chicken liver is still a superfood. Cod liver is a superfood. The liver from any animal is just a multivitamin, multimineral superfood. Liver does not store toxins. Let me say that out loud. So many people believe that the liver is a storage vat for toxins. This is completely and wholly untrue. The liver is constantly monitoring the blood supply. And if there are any toxins in the blood supply, it either breaks that toxin down or it tags that toxin so that the The kidneys can remove it through the urine, or it can be put into the bile and you can poop it out. There are no toxins stored in liver. So for the three of you out there who thought that's the reason you're not eating liver, hush, stop that. There's no toxins stored in liver. Decaf coffee on ice with some LMNT chocolate electrolytes. Wolfie says, what do you think about the Mounjaro shot for diabetes? I think if you lead a low carb enough diet, then the Mounjaro shot is a complete and utter waste of money, and also a complete and utter exposure to possible side effects that you don't need to be exposed to if you're eating a very low carbohydrate diet. Good questions today. You guys are on the ball. Let's see here. All right. Here's a question. This is from RG. Is it normal to lose a single pound or even gain weight the first 2 weeks of going carnivore? Yeah, this is more common in women, but it absolutely can happen in either men or women the first week, especially if you were already eating keto and then you went carnivore. Keto is pretty damn good. And so you're not going to have a miraculous change when you go carnivore because you're just effectively lowering the carbs even more. And so some people don't notice a huge change that first week or two of going carnivore. But I promise you the beneficial positive changes are happening in the background. Rachel, what can be done about non-obstructing gallstones when surgery is not wanted? Well, if they're non-obstructing, you don't have to do anything about them. Forget they're there. And I know that's easy for me to say because I may have a gallstone. I don't know. I haven't had an ultrasound. I may have two big ones in there and just not know it, but they're not obstructing. They're not causing pain. So I'm not going to go get an ultrasound to find out. I don't care. Non-obstructing gallstones are just an incidental finding. They're not dangerous at all. Many people, when they start a real whole food ketogenic or ketovore or carnivore diet, any existing gallstones shrink, and in many cases go completely away. So I would not worry about them. I definitely would not have my gallbladder taken out if I were you. Maria, what are your thoughts about Wagyu hamburger meat? I think Dr. Chafee has questioned it. I think it's just as good as any other hamburger meat. I think it's vastly overpriced. I don't think it's any more nutrient dense than any other hamburger. It's tasty. I've had it. It's delicious. But, I mean, if you've got money to blow, I guess you could buy a Wagyu hamburger meat. But I don't have money to blow. I got a family to feed. So I buy regular old ground beef. Samantha, potassium came back low, 3.1. Doc told me to stop fasting because it can be dangerous. Should I be worried? Well, you should be worried that your potassium is that low. Number one, yes. Are you getting enough potassium in your diet with food and drink and supplements? If not, you need to increase that. Now, actually, the most common cause for low potassium, especially at 3.1, is that you're taking a medication that's causing your kidneys to waste potassium. And many doctors either have forgotten their pharmacology or never learned it. And they don't consider medications as a cause. Even some over-the-counter medications can make you pee out extra potassium. Fasting will not make your potassium low. Your body's very, very good at holding on to potassium if you're getting enough in your diet and you're not taking a medication, either over-the-counter or prescription, that's causing you to waste potassium. There are a couple of kidney diseases that can make you waste potassium. And so if I did get this rechecked in 4 to 6 weeks, and if it's still low, I would ask to please send me to a kidney specialist, a nephrologist. Hey, Doc, in his new book, Outlive, Dr. Peter Attia strongly recommends taking statins and minimizing LDL as much as possible. Have you read his book and have any arguments? And if so, do you have any thoughts? Yeah, so I listened to Attia's book probably a month ago on Audible while I was out in the pasture working. It's a very good book. I don't agree with several of the things Dr. Attia says in the book, but let me be very clear. I have great respect for Dr. Attia. He's done a lot of great work. He in the past was a huge proponent and fan of keto diet and carnivore diet. And now he's kind of moved away from that. And I think the main reason he's moved away from that is because of ApoB and LP(a). They've thoroughly scared him to death. He believes that they are truly reliable proxy markers for heart disease and heart damage. I don't believe that's true. Dr. Attia he's in great shape. He works out all the time. I applaud him for the work he's done as a physician and the many other hats he's worn during his life. Great respect for him, but I do disagree with him about taking statins. I do not think statins will extend your life, maybe three to 6 days if you take one every day for 20 years. That's what the research shows. I absolutely disagree that you should take a PCSK9 inhibitor like Repatha or Praluent to lower your LDL below physiological levels. I think that's going to prove to be very bad in the future. I think there will be major class action lawsuits when the long-term safety data comes back in on Repatha and Praluent that people were harmed by that. So yeah, I disagree with him on several things, but we do agree on a great many things. I think he's a great guy. Chicom, quad bypass patient, Carnivore, aspirin, metoprolol, atorvastatin, recently getting chest tightness that doesn't go away unless exercise. What's the cause? So the chest tightness gets better with exercise. That's unusual. I'm not sure what could be causing that. They may actually have some atelectasis when they're sitting around sedentary, and then when they get up and start exercising and they billow their lungs out completely, then they have less tightness and shortness of breath. That may be what's going on. But definitely this deserves a follow-up trip to the cardiologist. Yeah, not sure. That's kind of backwards of what you normally hear. Brandon, I recently discovered I love eating liver. How much daily liver is too much? Is 6 ounces daily too much? Beef liver, not polar bear liver. Right. So I don't advise any of you to eat too much polar bear liver or puffer fish liver. And there's one other kind of Japanese fish that you shouldn't eat the liver because it does contain toxic amounts of vitamin A. But domesticated animals, liver, cow, sheep, goat, venison, turkey, chicken, duck, goose, any domesticated animal. I have searched the medical and nutrition literature exhaustively, and I cannot find a single case report of someone who developed vitamin A toxicity from eating the too much liver of a domesticated animal. Now, if any of you guys find a case report of that, please let me know. I can find several case reports of people who got vitamin A toxicity from taking a vitamin A supplement. But I don't recommend vitamin A supplements, so I don't think you're in any danger. I think you can eat 6 ounces of liver every day if you love it and you want it. What I predict will happen, Brandon, is after a few weeks or a few months of that, you're going to kind of lose the taste for liver. Like, I don't really want liver. And then you won't eat it again for a month or 2 or 3, and then the taste for it will come back. Almost like your body's subtly signaling you as to what it needs. I think that happens once you're eating a proper human diet and you've calmed the inflammation down. You've relearned what true hunger is. You've relearned what true satiety is. Your body can actually give you signals and clues as to what you should eat and what you should avoid. And so as long as the liver tastes amazing and you're looking forward to it and love it, you can eat 6 ounces a day every day. I don't think it's going to hurt you a bit. There's no evidence that would make me worry about you doing that. Art, thank you very much. CK Sidekick, having the milk argument a lot lately. People don't know that if you're not of European descent, there's a good chance you can't digest it. It's, in fact, the majority of humans on the earth. What are your thoughts? I pretty much agree with you, Sidekick. Milk is the best food on the planet for humans who are less than 5 or 6 or 7 years old. There is no better food for humans who are under the age of 5, 6, or 7. But once a human being gets older than 5 or 6 or 7, and it varies by genetics and by the individuality of the person, milk slowly loses any appeal. It still tastes delicious. And full disclosure, I freaking love milk. I would drink milk every day if it didn't make me inflamed and fat. But it does, and it will. It has before. Milk is for babies. Okay. Now, there is the argument of, should you drink the milk from another species? I think that species-specific milk is the best milk for a mammal like you or me. And so human milk is the best milk up until you're 5 or 6 or 7 years old. That's when our ancestors, the anthropological literature, archaeological literature shows that in our kind of pristine hunter-gatherer societies, we would start to wean kids about 4 or 5 years of age. And shortly thereafter, the 75% of people on planet Earth start to lose their ability to make lactase. And so they can no longer break down the milk sugar. And I also think, this is not talked about a lot, but I think a lot of people, as they get older, they develop a sensitivity to the casein in the whey in the dairy. And we have so many people in our private group that they can eat butter because that's just the pure fat, or ghee, that's just the pure fat. But even heavy cream will cause inflammation. Even heavy cream will slow down their weight loss because it's only 30 or 35% fat. It's still 65% protein and a little bit of carbohydrates. And for many people, that protein is inflammatory enough for them as adults that it's a no-go. So I actually find this topic fascinating. I've read several books about it, watched hours of video, done a lot of thinking about it. I've got lots of opinions about this. If you have more questions about milk, feel free to ask. But I don't think that drinking liquid milk serves any purpose whatsoever for adult humans, and that includes raw milk. I think raw milk, if properly handled, is less bad for you than supermarket milk, but I don't think that makes it good for you as an adult. One of the things I agree with the vegans on, one of the very few things. Thank you, Margaret, very much. Matt, Dr. Berry, how do you slow down or prevent memory loss as we age? Any supplements or diet? So I think that, so let me say this first, regardless of what diet you eat, and regardless of how perfectly you follow that diet, you are still a human being. You are not immortal. You are not bulletproof. You will get older, and eventually you'll get old, and eventually you'll die. This awaits all of us. It is the great democratic equalizer. Regardless of your station in life, you will share in the democracy of death. And I'm not sad about that. That's just part of being alive. So with that being said, I think that the closer you adhere to the principles of a proper human diet, the longer you're going to be able to maintain your memory and your flexibility and your cognitive ability. I think that anytime you're eating junk food, you're damaging every organ in your body. And people forget your brain is an organ in your body. They think, oh, no, the brain and the mind, that's different somehow. The same blood supply that feeds your liver and your kidneys and your muscles also feeds your brain. It's the same blood supply. And if it's full of inflammatory sugars and toxins and fructose and all that crap, it's going to damage your brain just like it damages all the rest of you. So now, I have been reading about nootropics for years. These are supplements. Actually, I've tried a bunch of them. These are supplements that are supposed to increase your mental ability, mental alertness, mental awareness, IQ, just supposed to be like superfood for your brain. The research supporting any of them is just completely lacking. And they're expensive. And I've tried probably 20 different types of nootropics over the last 20 years. I can't tell any difference one way or the other. So I think that you slow down memory loss by eating a proper human diet and staying very, very active. There's quite a bit of research that shows that if you routinely engage in vigorous exercise, like I was doing earlier with my chainsaw, with my gloves on, out there dragging trees that I've cut down and piling them up into brush piles. I'm doing that to make our farm prettier. But at the same time, I'm also doing that to keep my brain sharper. But it also keeps my muscles stronger and my bones stronger, and it helps me just be healthier overall. But that also helps my brain. I eat a proper human diet. I just broke my fast at 3 p.m. with a pound and a half of hamburger meat with some pork sausage cooked in with it. I eat that so that I don't become fat again. I eat that so I keep a normal A1C. I eat that so that I don't develop chronic inappropriate inflammation in my body, but I also ate that for my brain because my brain needs that nutrition and it needs me not to be inflamed. So it's basically eating a proper human diet and living a proper human life. That's what's going to keep your brain and the rest of you as healthy as is possible until such time as you roll snake eyes and you clock out like every single human has ever done on the face of the planet that we have a record of. Cindy, thank you very much. Mike, 17, how do you get over sweet tooth craving? So we call this is a euphemism. I've got a sweet tooth. I have cravings. No, you're a sugar addict. And I find right off the bat, Mike, it helps people if they'll just call it what it is. Look in the mirror and say, hi, Mike, I'm a sugar addict. I'm addicted to sugar. That helps a lot because now you've put a name to it. You know what it is. And sweet, oh, I've got a sweet tooth. That sounds so like, oh, that's so benign. It's not, it's just a sweet tooth. No, you're a sugar addict. And that's fine. I'm a sugar addict. If I eat sugar, if I eat a sugary dessert tonight and tomorrow night, my entire sugar addiction would be back. And I would be searching every cabinet in the house trying to find a sugary snack. Okay. I know this about myself, and that helps me stay away from it. It's not worth it. Even on my birthday, when we go to a restaurant, I'll have a big ribeye. I'll have some fish roe. I have some chicken hearts. I'll have things I don't normally have. I have some sashimi. But when they bring the dessert platter around, I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you. Because it's not worth it. Uh-oh. I think Bonnie Blue woke up from her nap. Matt says, since taking vitamin D, I get full quicker. Is this normal? I've actually heard several people say that once they get their vitamin D levels back up to a good optimal level, that their hunger is just not as severe. I've heard that from other people as well. I don't know if that works for everybody or not. Vandy, what most important labs to monitor as a carnivore and extended faster tips for getting lab tests cheaper. So yeah, you want an A1C, a fasting insulin, or a C-peptide, depending. You want a triglyceride and an HDL. They can do the full lipid panel. That's fine. You want a CRP and an ESR. You want a complete metabolic profile, a complete blood count with differential, a urinalysis. And then if you're having any low thyroid symptoms, then there's a whole nother set of thyroid labs that we would throw in. There's other adrenal labs. There's other sex hormones we would throw in different situations. I've got a book called Common Sense Labs that's available on Amazon. If you want the full list and the rationale behind why you get those, Common Sense Labs. There's a link down in the show notes. And then how do you get the labs cheaper? You go to a website called ownyourlabs.com, OWN, ownyourlabs.com. And they are getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. This is run by Dave Feldman, and he's not trying to make a profit off this. So every time he can get a lab test done cheaper, he cuts the price. He's cut the price several times, and you can get a fasting insulin for like $9 now from ownyourlabs.com. Could somebody type that into the comments so everybody can see, somebody who knows exactly what that is? Mattless, you mentioned quail eggs earlier. Are pickle foods like pickled eggs and pickled okra sources of vitamin K2? So pickled is not the same thing as fermented. Those are two different things. And I know this because I grew up with Granny Berry, who both pickled and fermented. Pickled eggs are not fermented, okay? So the yolk of the egg, if the quail was allowed to forage, is going to have some K2, just like a chicken egg. But the pickling process is not going to cause K2 to magically form. Same for pickled okra. Now, there are some fermentation techniques that can break out K2 and make it available, but that's not the same as pickling, at least not in the South where I came from. All right, guys, we're going to get one more question here. Colleen, what is the best blood test? PTH intact with or without calcium in-house. Standard range is 7.5 to 53.5, and my result is 90. Your thoughts on this, and is it related to repeatedly severe hydronephrosis? Yeah, have you also had kidney stones, low back pain, depression, fatigue? It sounds like you probably have hyperparathyroidism. You need to go see an endocrinologist and get this checked out. I don't know why it's so common for primary care doctors to miss this. I bet your calcium, serum calcium is just 1 or 2 tenths of a point high. That may be how they found this. And then they check the intact PTH, which is the perfect thing. But a lot of doctors, if your calcium is just a tiny bit high, they won't even do any further investigation. And that if your calcium is high, you either have hyperparathyroidism or cancer, or you're taking a certain kind of medication that can make your calcium high like that. That's got to be investigated. So I'm glad they checked this test. You need to see an endocrinologist. All right, guys. Now let me tell you, if you didn't get your question answered at 5 p.m. Central, so in 14 minutes, I'm going to be live in our private group just like this, but instead of 2,000 people asking questions, there'll be 200. And I have more time to answer questions more thoroughly, more completely, and to answer all the questions. So consider joining our private group. There's a link in the show notes that says join our community. For $5 a month, you get access to 2 additional lives just like this inside the private group every week. For $12, you get 3 extra lives just like this every week. For $20, you get 3 extra lives and a Zoom call, not individually, but as a group with me each and every week. And so if you've got questions, if you're ready to turn your health around, if you're ready to reverse type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, hypertension, obesity, severe arthritis, if you're ready to make all that stuff better and you need a tribe of people to walk with you on your journey, consider joining our private group. The link is down in the show notes. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for sharing this video and hitting that thumbs up on the way out. See you next time.